This video is about the stimulus checks. You got a lot of people, some Trump supporters, even hardworking Americans who say, the stimulus check is too much at $600 or it's too much at $2,000, and that the people shouldn't get the stimulus because who's going to pay for it in, right? So this is something I want y'all to understand before y'all make any more comments on this subject. So first, let's go back to 2008, 2009 crisis, right? So when these banks was about to crash, they was about to die, because they had bad banking practices. They started lending out money to people that didn't have the qualifications to get the money, and it caused the daggone crisis of 2008 to 2009 to happen. All right, and there was a multitude of other things that happened. But basically, the banks was doing bad bank lending, and they ended up having a crisis, right? So what happened was the government ended up using their funds to bail these guys out, right? So bankers like Jamie Dimon, who's the CEO of the largest bank in the United States, JP Morgan, he received record highs in bonus that year. So imagine having a business and your business does horrible and it's about to fail, but then the government comes and help you out and you get a record high bonus. Is that fair? That's not fair at all. And then the people who was paying for this, let's look and see where government get their revenue from. The majority, the highest tax revenues is individual income tax. The second is payroll tax. So they're taxing us twice, right? So this is where the majority of government's funding come from. They use that funding to bail out these banks who gave themselves record highs in bonuses, right? But no one says anything about that. Now, all of a sudden, that 60% of jobs that's been lost are never coming back, right, during this pandemic, okay? So yeah, people stuck at home. You have record high of fatalities just happened last week, where people are dying in the U.S., the highest it's ever been since the pandemic started. And you got people who just don't have a job to go to, right? So the government can't have you sit home and not have money and then expect you to be able to live. They can't have the cake and eat it too, right? So let's go back to 2009 again. So we was working, they was using our tax revenue dollars to bail out these banks. Now we can't work, so now they have to pay the money to us. Now let me explain why they should, because they've already been started printing this money since the first crisis happened. They never really stopped, all right? It's something called quantitative easing. That's basically a free money printing program to keep the economy afloat. Look at the stock market. The stock market just hit record highs last week too, for the first time. You know what I mean? So the Dow Jones. So it just shows you, the NASDAQ. So this just shows you how in the world are we in the midst of a pandemic where you have, right now they say 10 million people are out of work, but then you can have another 7 million that's counted out of the labor force. So basically that puts you around 17 million, right? So you have 17 million people out of work. So where is that money going to come from as far as the lost revenue? Because every year income tax and revenue taxes go up every single year. Even though Trump did a tax cut, he still hit record highs in 2018, 2017 with individual income taxes. It goes up every single year. So everybody always saying, who's going to pay for this stimulus check? Do we got to pay it eventually in the future? Yes, but guess what? We already screwed. We already passed the point of no return. The government is going to continue to print money until they can't no more, right? So why not give it to the little people who they're taking the most money from in the first place? You know what I mean? Like, this gives us the opportunity to be able to do something and transfer our wealth, the little wealth that we do have. So we shouldn't be out here spending frivolously with this opportunity we have, unless we have bills to pay. Everybody's situation is different. But if you have extra income due to what they're giving us, we need to take advantage, because this is like our last hoorah here. You know what I mean? This is our last time to be able to buy things to sustain our wealth. Like it's not a coincidence that Bitcoin has hit 41,000 last week, right? It's just contracted. It's just retracted a little bit this week, down at 34,000. But still, a lot of people are moving their money. That's why they're trying to change the rules to M2, because a lot of people are taking their money out of savings and out of bonds, and they're putting it on cash hands. So they're changing the rules so they don't see how many people are moving their money from out of safe savings into actual physical cash, right? They keep trying to keep us undermined and trying not to tell us the truth about what's going on. So we need, they should give these people the checks, because like I said, they've been doing it since 2009, 2008 crisis. So right now it gives the little man the opportunity that they gave the rich. They gave the big bankers, and what they're doing now, they're still doing. They're still printing $120 billion a month with quantitative easing. They don't call it quantitative easing because they do it overnight. So by the time before the morning hits, they already paid the money back. So it's not really considered quantitative easing. But still, they're lending these banks money because banks don't have enough liquidity. So the Federal Reserve Bank is putting this money out, and they're buying bonds and they're putting it in the market. That's why you got record highs in the stock market. You get what I'm saying? But with this stimulus and with this boost that the government is giving us an opportunity to get in and to invest, because the dollar is dying. The dollar is going to die anyway. Whether they give us a stimulus or not, they're still going to stimulate the economy via quantitative easing with this Federal Reserve Bank giving money to the banks. So, before these people, start asking, who's going to pay this money back and, why they shouldn't give out this amount of money, this, that, and the third, understand that their money is already being printed regardless whether we know it or not. Look up quantitative easing and get back to me, But this is Jay with Organic Money. Peace.